everyone, it's Lucas with another Big Brother Spoilers intro. Today's guest is none other than the winner of Big Brother 16, Derrick Levasseur, one of the most respected players that's ever played the game. This is Josh's favorite interview he's ever done, and also the longest one yet on the podcast, because there was just so much to cover. He and Derrick dove deep into Derrick's Big Brother journey, the strategies and skills he's carried over from being a detective, his thoughts on his legacy compared to other winners, and whether or not he would ever play again. But the conversation doesn't just stay on Big Brother 16. Derrick gave his honest perspective on BB27, the twists, the gameplay, Rachel's shocking return, and which houseguest he sees himself in this season. He even shared who he would align with if he were in the house right now and who his current winner pick is. On top of that, they also had an extended conversation about Big Brother Unlocked, the new show Derrick has been co-hosting with Taylor Hale. Josh has a ton of questions about how it works behind the scenes, from the travel to watching the feeds to how CBS responds to it, and Derrick gave some really fascinating answers. And if that's not enough, they also touched on the traitors, the future of Big Brother, and possibility of an all-winner season, Derrick's life after reality TV, and so much more. This is a wide-ranging, thoughtful, and at times surprising conversation with one of the greatest Big Brother players of all time. So let's buckle up, because this one goes deep. Let's get into it.
Derrick, I'm so excited to be talking to you. This interview has been years in the making, and it's been 11 years now since Big Brother 16. So how has life been for you since leaving the Big Brother house 11 years ago?
Isn't it crazy? 11 years ago? Seems like yesterday. It's been amazing. I say it all the time, and I know, like, I'm with CBS right now, so it's like you could put it under the category of, oh, he's on their payroll. But I've said it way before this. It changed my life. It changed my life in 99% positive ways. You know, I got to go and experience my dream. Had one of the best summers of my life. And even though it wasn't the plan, after Big Brother, it just opened so many doors for me, doors that I didn't even know existed. And to be sitting here with you 11 years later and looking back on the things that I've been able to do in my life, just the cool opportunities and experiences that I've had, mostly because of Big Brother. I'm extremely blessed, extremely fortunate, and I owe a lot to this show.
So the past 11 years have flown by, but what was the most challenging part of getting back into normal life immediately after the show?
Well, I think there's the stuff that everybody experiences when you're on a show like that. You really are cut off from the outside world. And, you know, it's a lot of like learning how to drive again, not whispering when talking, not checking for your mic pack, the normal stuff. For me, it was a little bit of a change because I wasn't someone who was on social media really. And to get used to that and, you know, both the positives and the negatives of social media, coupled with people knowing who you are and wanting to meet you or not liking you and wanting to see you fail. Like there's all these different dynamics that before you don't have to deal with, because frankly, nobody gives a shit about you. They just, you know, you can do whatever you want. But for me, coming back home, going right back to police work and having to go to midnights because so many people were coming to the station to try to meet me. I was like, wait, people want to meet me? What the hell? It was crazy. And it took a little while to get used to that, having people know a lot about me, because I would have these conversations in the house with my fellow house guests, not realizing that, you know, tens of thousands of people are listening in on those conversations. So when you go home and they're like, hey, how's Tenley's ears doing? And you're like, wait, how did you? Oh, okay, never mind. I get it. So it's an adjustment, but man, I don't want to be redundant, but it's been a good ride.
Did becoming like famous affect your job as a detective at all?
Well, famous is a subjective term, but becoming known, yeah, it definitely did. I wasn't a detective anymore when I got off the show. I was already promoted to sergeant. I was in patrol as a supervisor, and it affected it because we had some people who, you know, they take the show too far. And I had a couple incidents where we had to trespass people from the station because they were leaving notes on my car and stuff like that. And then I did actually have to go to midnights for a while because people were deliberately getting pulled over for me to stop them and so they could talk to me and stuff. And then there were also people coming into the lobby during busy hours, and the chief was like, Derrick, I just can't have this. So I agreed to go to midnights for 6 months, and that kind of fixed things. But those things were like, it's almost like those are positive things that I'm spinning as like a possible negative. Like it was great. The fact that everybody after I won was so proud of me and wanted to come meet me, I wanted to meet them too. And so, yeah, my overall experience was great. It did take some adjusting, but good problems to have, right? Like great problems to have, actually.
And since you played the game in 2014, social media has become a lot more
Yeah.
prevalent. Are you happy that you played in the time you did, or do you wish you had played now and get even more attention?
No, I'll take the attention I had back then. It's funny because Big Brother 16 did have a lot of attention online. It's definitely different now. But I was happy to play when I did. I think now it's definitely different. And I also think you have a different dynamic that you have to consider when you're playing the game, which is which house guests in there are playing to the internet, which is a whole different layer to the game now. And no, I was very happy to play when I did. I feel like our season was kind of like the turning point after that, where social media just blew up, and I was happy to have played when I did. I see it now, even with Unlocked, how prevalent social media is. Some of it's good, some of it's not so great, but you take the good with the bad.
How do you think that your reception and your season reception would be if the season aired in a modern day?
Oh, that's a great question. I've never been asked that before. I got to think about that. I mean, I'm biased, but I feel like we had a pretty eclectic cast. We had some people who knew what they were doing, some people who didn't. We had some entertaining players like the Zacks of the world. We had some people to root for, some underdogs like Donnie. We had some showmans on the show like Frankie, and then you had the super good looking people in there like the Brittany and the Amber and the Cody. Just everyone was good looking on my cast. And then you also had the showmans with Hayden and Nicole. And then you had the mastermind person in there who was kind of running the game and me. So I feel like we checked all the boxes. I'd like to think the game would have been well received, although I think now with social media, it's even more prevalent where they root more for the underdog. So even though Donnie was absolutely huge, even back then, I mean, he won America's Favorite by like a record setting number. I think that would be even more of a thing now because a lot of people online don't want to see the obvious person win. They want to see the person who has everything stacked against them getting to the end. So maybe that, I don't know. What do you think? You've been covering it for a while. How do you think it would be received?
I think a lot of people would say that your season was kind of a steamroll, that the guys kind of dominated to the end. I think people might have gotten bored with that in current day.
Well, I mean, I think they did then too, though, right? I mean, that was pretty much the narrative where we just kept winning comp after comp. So I think anybody who was online then probably was already saying that, this is a steamroll. It's a unanimous vote. But as far as being different, yeah, I guess it was same thing then, just more prevalent now is what you're saying, even more so.
And I also think season 16 was a lot of people's first season. It was my first season as well. So I think a lot of people have a connection to that season being their first season.
Which is interesting. I wonder why. It's got to be the Frankie Grande effect or the high definition effect. I don't know. There's something about that season that you're right. It was a lot of people's first seasons, which is interesting.
So let's get into this season, Derrick, season 27.
Yeah.
How have you been liking the season? Who are your favorite houses? You tell me your unfiltered thoughts here that you can't say on Unlocked.
Yeah, I like the season. I like the season. It's entertaining. I don't think anybody's playing like a masterful game. I really don't. Especially when we think about the people that are still left. I don't think anybody is just blowing the doors off the hinges where we're thinking about this as a steamroll, kind of like 16, right? But overall, it's been entertaining almost because they don't know what they're doing. Like, I think even some of the good players would not be considered great players on a really good season. And that's not like shade or anything. I think most people would agree with that. For me, I really liked Keanu this year. I just liked rooting for him. I liked his honesty, his candor. I liked Vince in the beginning, not so much in the end. Just very self-deprecating, not a fan of it. I think Morgan is super impressive. The way she's come on as of late, she's really stepped it up and kind of has a much more well-rounded game at this point, a game that we kind of expected at the beginning. I think when we did the Big Brother Unlocked draft, all three of us, Taylor, myself, and Chelsea, all wanted to pick Morgan number one. And she did. She went overall number one. And then Ava, I had kind of called it in the beginning. I didn't see her being someone that was going to do big things in this game. Nothing against her personally, but I feel like she's just there. So I'm not really impressed with her game. Ashley has done a lot better as of late. I know there's some big supporters of Ashley online. I think there's a blend there. I know she's been saying to the camera she's playing dumb, and she's been doing this all along. I think it's somewhere in the middle. There are moments where I'm watching the feeds where I'm like, she's the self-awareness isn't there. There's certain things that doesn't need to be said that she says that pisses other people off. That's not what you do when you're on Big Brother. You don't want to piss people off. There was even a fight the other night, maybe last night, with Ava sitting at the table with Keanu. Keanu's going home. Why are you even engaging with him at that point? He's a vote. He's a vote on the jury table. So for me, I wouldn't engage in that stuff, but strategically speaking, solely strategically, I think Ashley's she's top 3 as far as the best strategic player this year. If you're thinking about like a Morgan and a Rachel and an Ashley, but I think where Rachel and Morgan pass Ashley is in the social department and also the competitive department. Ashley's not been great at competitions. And personally for me, not been great at the social game. Good, not great. And I think that's the difference between her and like a Morgan, where if Morgan and Ashley are in the end, couple that with the competitions wins, I think Morgan smokes her.
And you mentioned being high on Morgan. Did you have a preseason winner pick?
Yeah, it was Morgan. We all wanted to pick Morgan first. We even said it in the draft. I don't know if it made the edit version, but we all wanted Morgan first. She had the tools, the skill set, the attributes, that she was saying the right things, and you could just tell that she was someone that if she found her footing, she could go very deep in the game.
And I want to give you my history of the last 2 years with my winner pick. So season 23, I picked Xavier to win, and I was
Good
right.
pick.
Season 24, I picked Taylor, and I was right.
Good job.
Season 25, I picked Jag, and I was right.
Wow.
And then season 26, I picked Matt, and he ended up being the first boot. So I got a lot of slack for picking the first
Damn,
boot.
You're terrible.
And then this year, I picked Ashley. So I was pretty worried the first week with the whole shower situation.
Yeah.
And then she won the veto. Now she's in the top 4. So I'm feeling good about Ashley right now.
Yeah, I think if Ashley can get Morgan out, Ashley has a good chance of winning this game. I think it's going to be an emotional journey.
In her way.
Yeah, if she can't get Morgan out, Morgan beats everybody there. I think you can make a strong argument that Ashley beats Vince. Ashley beats Ava, right? And so if she can get Morgan out, she gets there. The problem is she going to be able to win a comp to get herself there? The veto competition coming up, I think it's set up for like a Morgan. And then the final 3 HOH, I could see a world where it's Vince and Morgan who win parts 1 and 2. And I don't know if they would cut each other to take Ashley, because it's not a guaranteed win if you take Ashley. So Ashley to me is going to have to win one of these next 2 competitions to guarantee that she's in that final 2 chair. And if she's there with anybody other than Morgan, I think she wins.
And you mentioned being a fan of Keanu. He's almost like a polar opposite Big Brother player than you, that you knew what you're doing. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
No clue.
Some people said you were boring, and he's bringing the good TV, and he was an underdog and you weren't. So what draws you to Keanu that you guys are such polar opposites?
The funny thing about Keanu is I think in my personal life, as far as like just being a competitor, playing college sports, Keanu is more like I am. Like you want to win competitions. You want to be, I always tell people what I think. In my personal life, if I don't like you, I'll be the first to tell you, unless it's in a business setting. If Derrick doesn't like you, you're going to know it. And I like that about Keanu. It's not good for a Big Brother game, but I like the fact that he's straight up with people and he tells them what he thinks. And I like the fact that he goes in there, he plays hard, and he hasn't given up, even with, I don't know when this is coming out, but even with hours to spare, he's still trying. His reads are completely off. He doesn't know his place in the game, but I'll be the first to admit at the beginning of Unlocked, I had said he had no shot at winning and he'd be out soon, and he proved me wrong, so I'm impressed by his resiliency and the fact that he kept trying to find an angle, although his reads and the people he chose to work with, other than Rachel, were just terrible.
Does anyone on this cast remind you of somebody from your season in any way?
I think Big Brother every year kind of typecasts certain players. I'm sure if I sat here long enough, I could probably put each player from my season with a player in this season. It's just the way it goes, Keanu's the jock, right? So that's Cody, and you can do that with a lot of people. I think Morgan, for them, probably was the mastermind. Taking Rachel out of the equation because we didn't have a returning player. They know what they're casting. They know what they're casting.
Who do you think that you would have aligned with if you were in this house?
Well, I know what the social media will say. Social media will say, "Oh, Derrick would have broed down." And, nobody likes to admit that I was brought into the big alliance. I didn't start it. No, I think I would gravitate toward a few different people. I think Morgan and I would get along really well. I think probably someone like a Keanu, because he's someone who could win a lot of comps. I actually think I would have got along really well with like a Jimmy. I don't know. I just like this. I liked his style. I just like the way he kind of approached it. Again, I don't know how long we would work together, but I thought Jimmy was pretty cool. There's a lot of people I liked in there. I'm not just saying that to be politically correct. I mean, I would have found a way to work with all of them if they would have me.
And you didn't see the 16, so
yeah, I mean, you that's the whole point of the show, is to find commonalities with people that you don't necessarily have commonalities with and use that to your advantage. So I think there's somebody, every single person in there's a way I could relate to them if I had to.
And someone you didn't mention was Rachel. What were your just general thoughts on her returning to the game as the only previous house guest as a winner?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough hill to climb, right? Like, coming in as a returning player, we have seen statistically that returning players like Nicole and Paul do get to the end, but they're not former winners, right? So there's a difference there. And I think Rachel did the best she could with what she had. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like, on one hand, she was kind of pissed off that these people didn't know how to play the game, and she couldn't really round them up to get them to play a good Big Brother game. On the other hand, if they were good Big Brother players, they probably would have gotten her out a lot sooner. But based on the hand she was dealt, I thought she did great. It was unfortunate to see her go out the way she did, especially when she was in there that long. But yeah, I mean, considering we didn't pick her to go to the end and win, I felt like she did a great job with what she had.
Were you surprised that she was never nominated? That was out of the Derrick playbook to never be nominated.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, if you're going to take a shot at her, you have to make sure you hit your target. And so with the battle of the block, or the blockbuster as they called it this year, I think it was the right move not to nominate her initially ever. It would make no sense. There were a couple times where she could have been put on the block after the fact where it would have worked. But again, this is nothing against Rachel or any of the other players for that matter. I just don't think it's that high caliber of a season as far as the gameplay is concerned. And that's why it's been so entertaining. You're watching these people running around chasing their tails, not knowing what they're going to do. Like, literally, you have Ashley running back into the DR, changing her vote. We've never seen it in 26 seasons or 27 seasons with if you count OTT. So, it's one of those things where there's stuff happening on the season that have never happened before. And that's because of the type of gameplay we have. People are just very indecisive and don't know what the hell they're doing.
And a lot of this cast isn't big fans of the show, and I think it's probably benefited Rachel that a lot of these people haven't seen her seasons. They don't know what Rachel's really like.
I agree. Most of them had no clue. They knew of her, but not who she was as a player. I completely agree. Yeah, it definitely benefited her, and maybe that was part of the casting choices, right? Is to not put any really like crazy good, like super historian players in there, because they would probably come at her harder. The one person who did was like Jimmy initially. And then he realized, like, these people aren't going to go for it. I'd rather team up with her than go against her. So, yeah, overall, like I said, you play the hand you're dealt. That was the cast she was given. She didn't choose that cast. And I thought she did a great job with it.
And I have to imagine the last 11 years, you've run into Rachel a few times. So what have your interactions in person been like with Rachel?
Never run into her.
Oh,
maybe one time I saw her after Hearts of Reality. Personally, Rachel and I are very different people. There's a reason that people on social media gravitate toward her gameplay over mine. But yeah, I think I've met her never like in a social setting, like gameplay wise or anything like that. Met her Hearts of Reality probably was the only time.
What were your thoughts on her elimination from the game?
I think she shouldn't have gotten eliminated that way. I feel like the penalty should have been a nomination. It should have been automatic nomination. You're on the block, because with Big Brother, it's a chess game, right? You're setting up pieces so that you can win. You're also setting up pieces so that you can defend. And when you're on the block, all those pieces that you put in place, that's when you use them. That's when you implement your move that you had been setting up all game. So she was moving chess pieces, and to have no opportunity to execute that plan to see if her defense was good enough to survive was unfortunate. And I think the better angle here would have been whoever doesn't complete it in the time frame, automatic nomination. Now she's on the block and she has an opportunity to get herself off. As a game player, putting that many days into the house and not having the chance to save yourself, that's a hard pill to swallow. I think even she would say, like, in hindsight, she should have been able to do that competition. It was some people who've done it, and I haven't done it, say it's pretty difficult, but you have Vince, Lauren, and Morgan who crushed it. No problem for newbies, never probably saw reindeer games and absolutely crushed it. So I think Rachel just got into her own head, and candidly, she could have had 8 minutes. I don't think she was going to get that competition. So there should have been a penalty for going up there and not getting it done. It shouldn't have been leaving the game.
And now you being contracted by CBS, do you have any say? Like, can you tell them, come on, guys, that was a terrible twist? Do you have any say like that?
No. Listen, I'm an employee, and honestly, they're going to do what they want to do. Even with Unlocked, Taylor and I have been very vocal about the fact that we'll give them suggestions, but ultimately it's their show, and they're going to do what they want to do. And they don't care what I think, and it's not that they owe me anything. I'm there to do my job. I'm there to commentate on the season as it unfolds. And that's my responsibility. If they want my opinion on it, I would have told them exactly what I'm telling you right now. I think most of them knew that. I mean, without having personally talked to any of them about it, I feel pretty confident in saying that when they saw this competition, knowing Rachel, they probably thought she was going to crush it. And I don't think there was a world or a scenario where they thought Rachel's going to go home tonight. I just don't think they saw that. So I'm sure if I had been in those rooms, they were just as shocked as everybody else was. I don't think they anticipated that being what took out Rachel Riley.
And do you think Rachel's elimination is going to make past players less willing to come back? They could just be eliminated by a hamster wheel now?
I hope that's not the trajectory we go going forward. I'd like to think that Big Brother tries things, and when you have something like this happen where you have a main staple of the show go home, you learn from those things and you adjust for the seasons going forward. So I kind of go back to my season where, if you remember, there was an HOH competition. It was like a true or false HOH competition. And I got it right on the first question and everyone else got it wrong. And it was like, okay, well, now it's over. Now, since then, it's a point system. They don't want that to happen again. So you learn from it, you make adjustments. And I think if they bring the hamster wheel back, if they bring it back at all, there'll be different punishments, I guess you would say. That's more for reindeer games, like immediate elimination, not for a full season. And if you're going to do it, by the way, it should be in like the first week or two.
And there's been two interesting relationships in the house that I wanted to get your thoughts on. The first one being Riley and Catherine. They're both out of the house, but what were your thoughts? Because you're keeping up with the live feeds. What were your thoughts on their dynamic in the house?
I mean, listen, to each their own. Catherine, it's kind of weird to see them now. Catherine's kind of talking about it, kind of not talking about it. Riley's kind of talking about it, not talking about it. For me personally, I'm going to be honest with you, and it's probably not the answer you want. I just don't care. Like, ultimately, if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want some man talking to her like that. That's just me. But Catherine's a grown woman, and whatever decision she decides, I respect her for it. She's obviously had the opportunity to talk to her family members and her friends, and whatever she decides to do, I support her. It's her decision. But personally, I would rather my daughter go in there, play the game, and keep the showman stuff for outside the house. But there were definitely moments, and I didn't see all of it, but from what I've heard, where he was not talking very kindly to her. And obviously, as a man, as a father, I don't condone that.
And what do you think of Riley's exit interviews being canceled? We don't really see that, people's exit interviews getting canceled.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know why. I didn't even think that was an option, but I think they probably gave him a heads up on what was coming and gave him the choice to do the interviews or not, or have some more time to process it. It's tough when you get out of that house. You're kind of, everything's a blur. And to go right into an interview where interview after interview, they're going to just try to come at you with that. It's almost not fair to him, before giving him an opportunity to process everything. So I don't know who made that decision or why it was made. I can only imagine that they told him what was coming and said, "Hey, do you feel comfortable doing the interviews?" And he said no.
Yeah, Riley has said in some interviews since that it was a CBS call, was not his call. That he
They
said
said
he
they didn't
faces
want to do it.
problems. Yeah, CBS didn't want to let him talk to people. He said he faces problems. He doesn't run from them. So that's what
Oh,
Riley said, at least.
I mean, listen, then they probably did him a favor because honestly, I think if he would have done those interviews, it would have been bad for him. So he owes CBS a fruit basket.
And then the other relationship I want to get your thoughts on was Vince and Morgan. They're still in the house. What do you
Yeah.
think of Vince and Morgan?
That's another interesting one, right? Like everything's on camera. You can tell. For me personally, I feel like it's more one-sided. I feel like Vince is more into her than she's into him. That's just my personal opinion. I feel, without knowing Morgan, I don't think she's that interested in Vince, but I think she's using what she sees. I think she can tell that Vince kind of has a crush on her, and I think she's using that for gameplay. I don't think she's interested in him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to be the next Big Brother couple, but I think she's using what she can to her advantage, which is fair play. Vince is the one that has the girlfriend at home, not Morgan. And so that zing should have probably been towards Vince, not Morgan. And overall, she's finding what she can with each player left in the game, and she's doing what she has to do to get to the end. I saw some stuff on the feeds last night where there was that whole option one kind of conversation over the last couple of nights, and it's very clear what they're talking about. And even in that conversation, I kind of interpreted it as, from Morgan's perspective, like, oh, I'm not saying there's zero chance, but unfortunately you have a girlfriend, so I can't explore it. But I think that's just her kind of being like, hey man, I'm not interested. After this game's over, we can be friends, but that's it. I don't know how social media feels about it, but that was kind of my take on it.
I do think the one thing that is weird from Morgan's perspective is that she had a massive crush on Zach, and then Zach left, and then she moved on to Vince. I think that's a little weird.
Yeah, I think also there's a part of it where it doesn't always have to be like romantic either, where you're in this house and you honestly feel like you're trapped on an island, and you just want some type of personal connection, some type of interaction with another human being. We need that, right? And when Zach left, she lost that, and then she found it again in Vince. And I think it's one of those things where if Vince wasn't in there, she probably would have found it with Keanu or something, because it's just having that other person that you can feel like it's real and it's not just for gameplay. So again, Morgan and Vince are going to have plenty of time to talk about this when they get out of the house, and hopefully they give their honest opinions. I think Vince is going to have a lot of stuff to clear up and a lot of conversations to have. So yeah, he's going to probably have a tough couple weeks when he gets out.
And I don't think it was to this extent, but did you see any similarities to Cody and Christine in your season in this situation?
You know, the thing about Cody and Christine for me, and I was in there and we had talked about it, and it was a little odd at points. But even I was guilty of it. I'd have Victoria rub my head a couple times. You're just looking for that like personal touch, man. It was nothing romantic. It's just like, I don't know, human instinct. And, you know, you have someone like Will who's like no shot, and I respect that. So I think this is probably more overt than Christine and Cody, because Cody was kind of doing it with everybody, you know, like everybody was rubbing that kid's head. I think I even rubbed his hair a couple times. Who knows, right? I was laying in bed with Frankie Grande too, you know, and Zach was laying in bed with Frankie Grande. Sounds horrible when you say it out loud. We were all kind of just like slumming around with everybody. But the Morgan Vince thing, you know, Christine and Cody weren't sleeping in the same HOH bed every night. So I think I would probably give the edge to Morgan and Vince.
Have you connected with any of the pre-jurors at all? I know you did the unlock with some of them, but
No, I'm in a different role right now, right? Like, not that I used to reach out to all the pre-jurors, but my role is different, and you have to kind of stay impartial and objective. I'm being paid to do a job, and I'm going to do my job, and I don't want to show favoritism to anybody. I'm going to see these people again when we go to finale, and I'm sure that I'll have some conversations with some of them. If there's any advice I can offer after being around the show for 11 years, I'd gladly provide it. But, you know, overall, half these kids are younger than I am. They're like 10 years younger than me. So it's one of those things where I don't know how much I have to offer, or if they even want to hear from me. I'm just like, I'm the old timer at this point.
and they probably don't even know you in the same way they didn't know Rachel. So
Honestly, I don't think half of them know who I am, truly.
And a wrinkle that is in the game now that wasn't when you were playing is the BB Blockbuster. What do you think of that as a twist?
I love it. I love it. I wouldn't love it as a game player, but I love it as a viewer. I love the fact that come eviction night, it's like a live sporting event. That's what my reaction has been with most of my friends when we're sitting at home watching it. I'm pumped. And when I'm at the CBS lot, we're all in the green room and we're rooting and cheering. We're taking, bets, like, friendly bets on who's going to win. Cause going into that night, you're excited because you truly don't know who's going home. Now, if you take away the blockbuster, as it's been on every season back to, even before mine, if you're a live feeder, you know who's going home. You have to go through the motion. There might be something interesting with the final plea to stay, but let's be honest, most of the time it's a boring episode unless you get the HOH competition afterward, which we only had once this season. So for me, it still creates a little bit of suspense where people are gaming right up to the moment before the live show starts, because everybody until after that blockbuster has a chance to stay. So for me, I like it. I don't know. You're more in tune with the fan base. What do they think about it?
Well, I think it just completely benefits the competition people like Keanu and Kelly, that they would have been gone so long ago if there wasn't the blockbuster in place. So I think it's becoming more like the challenge now. It's just competition based, and the house gets to set up themselves that the social game doesn't matter. It's just competitions now.
Well, let's push back a little bit, right? Let me be devil's advocate. Are we really considering being in a tube with air and balls going up in the air like a physical competition? And I'm playing devil's advocate just for the fun here, but like, it's catching a ball and putting it into a thing. Now, if we're going to talk about that rope competition where Keanu has to jump through the things, completely agree with you. That's something where if you're agile and you're athletic and you're strong and whatever, right? Like, no, Keanu, Will's never going to win that competition. I would like to think that everybody in that house, regardless of age or gender or whatever, the competition where you're just catching the balls. I actually thought Mickey was going to win that competition. She had the right idea putting him in her shirt. I think there's equitable competitions you could have where it's fair for everybody and it's not necessarily the challenge. I would argue that like the challenge where you have the hall brawl, that's not fair. That's not fair for someone who's in their 40s going against, I don't even know who's on the challenge, but like, the big guys, right? To me, that's not fair. But I would push back and say, there are certain competitions, like even the more recent one we had, where they're basically sliding the ball up the thing, and Morgan ended up winning it. Like, to me, those types of competitions you could have for a blockbuster where it's not necessarily the strongest competitors. It's a lot of luck and it's a lot of, I guess, focus that would get you the win, not necessarily your athletic ability. I don't know. Do you not agree? And if you don't, like, I love that. I love the debate.
I think most of them are pretty equitable. Did you see like the most recent HOH competition, what it was? Did you see that?
The one where they have to hold it up with their arms?
Yeah, so like Ashley and Ava said that they could barely even get the sword up. It was so heavy. And that the boys were both surprised that the girls even held it up as long as they did because it was so heavy. And then Keanu and Vince just could hold it forever. So I'm like, that's something that why did they make the sword heavy,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're never going to please everybody, right? Because there's a competition like that where I completely agree with you, right? It's going to favor certain people. And then there's competitions where it's about memory or being able to assess a video or something and find out the details, where somebody like a lawyer or a doctor is going to be better than the jock, right? So they go back and forth, and sometimes the people you don't expect to win those comps do. The only way to really get rid of it would be for there just to be no competitions, and for it just to be a social game where it's a matter of luck, where you just pull names out of a hat and whoever gets their name pulled out becomes HOH. There has to be some type of competition where you go against each other to determine who wins. And I do think Big Brother has always had a little bit of a competition part to it, where not all of them are about who's the strongest or the fastest, but, solving a puzzle, finding, a piece in the some of it's luck. So personally for me, I still want that. I still want that possibility where someone like a Donnie can go in there and smoke a Caleb and Cody, just absolutely smoke them. And that to me is cool to see that underdog go in there and win. But I understand that there are people out there who are like, hey, listen, man, this is a social game, not a competition. And anytime you put a competition in there, it's going to favor the athletes. But I do think there are certain competitions that are not physical in nature.
Well, I think going back to season 2, the original premise of the show was a social game. It was just the HOH. You put two people in the block and then you fight it out from there. trying to get votes. So I think they add the veto and they add the blockbuster, and I just think it's a little much on the competition side. This is what I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a subjective thing, right? Like, we could have 100 people in here. You could poll all of them. I would suspect it'd be pretty divided, right? Some people like the competitions a little bit more. Some people don't. The thing about just having it purely be social is it becomes predictable. So let's talk about it not from a game perspective, but people watching, right? You have to make the show entertaining where people want to tune in 3 nights a week. And if it's basically just a social game, it's going to be very quick to, as far as the social dynamic in the house and the hierarchy in the house. And you could have a potential situation where the majority, like on my season, just steamrolls the whole season. And that's not fun either. So I do think there's always room for improvement, and we're very well into this whole thing of Big Brother, and it's gonna evolve, it's gonna adapt, and it's gonna evolve new twists and turns being implemented. Some of them will work, some of them won't. And just trying to get the show to go for another, 20 years. That would be the goal.
But I think like Will and Rachel, for example, that they didn't have it in the competitions, but they had the social game, but they didn't get further than the Kelly and Keanu's, who do not have the social game, but they have the competition game. So,
well, they got further because they weren't a threat socially too, I would argue. The part of the reason they didn't get to that Keanu and Kelly got further is because personally, Kelly didn't get further because she's a competition beast. I know she won some blockbusters, but nobody was really afraid of her. She was never a threat to win because her social game was so bad. She could have went to the final 2 with anybody. She wasn't going to win. And so, yeah, there's again, it's all depends on the perspective of the person watching. Some people like it, some people don't. I would argue that in a good season, someone like a Dr. Will playing the game he played probably wouldn't get far now. So that's the way it goes. You have to be able, in the current form of Big Brother, you got to be able to perform under pressure. And I specify perform under pressure because it doesn't necessarily mean be fast or be strong. It just means being able to stay calm when there's a lot at risk.
And you mentioned Keanu being your favorite. Do you think that he is America's favorite player locked up?
I don't know. I don't keep my finger on the pulse of that too much. I would say it's going to be Keanu, Will, and Rachel would be my 3. From just my experiences doing Unlocked and being stopped every friggin' day about Big Brother right now, everyone seems to love Keanu. That's just my quick little poll of like who people are rooting for. But that doesn't represent the majority in any way. And I think depending on what social media platform you use, the top 3 will change. But I would say Keanu's probably in the running for sure. I think he's the underdog of the year. He's kind of like the Donnie in a very different way. I would think Rachel's in the running, and I think Will's in the running just because I really liked Will. I just liked his personality. I liked his DRs, and I don't know if that's going to get him the win because he's been out for a little while by the time this comes up. That could also hurt Rachel a little bit as well. Those would be my top 3. Am I wrong? Would you put someone else in there?
I would definitely agree with that top 3. Me,
you think
Rachel,
that
personally? Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Maybe Ava because of the casual people that are watching. Maybe.
I would say Will.
I think so too, right?
Yeah,
I think so too.
I would say for me personally, Rachel has my vote, but I think Keanu will win. I look back to like season 25 when Suri also came in with that fan base, and then she lost to the casual fan favorite Cameron. So I think that's what we're gonna happen again.
That's a great point. Cam won that year. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, listen, it depends on what the casuals think. I don't know, like just the general viewers, what their perspectives are because they're not commenting on social media. Right? Maybe they are on Facebook and stuff. I don't know. I'm not seeing it, but I think I'd be shocked if Keanu's not top 3. I'd be shocked if Rachel's not top 3. The third one, I don't really think it matters. I think it's between Rachel and Keanu.
So let's talk about Unlocked. How did they pitch this? How did they get you on the show? Tell me how this all started.
Like a week and a half beforehand. They said, "Hey, we're doing a new show." My first question was, "Is it a recap show?" They said no. I said, "Okay, that's cool." They kind of gave me the premise of what the show would be and how it would kind of evolve as the season went on. And I was going to have a co-host, and I immediately said to them, "All right, so Taylor." And they're like, "We can't say yet." I'm like, So Taylor. And it was just intriguing to me. It was an opportunity to come in and do something that's never been done before in this way for Big Brother. And I always like a challenge. No guarantees it's going to work, but I do love Big Brother. And I love, as we started this whole thing off with, the opportunities it's presented me. And I know how many people they have to choose from. So when they come to me and say, hey, we'd like you to be part of this new thing, when they have so many great players that could do exactly what I'm doing, you have to respect that and you have to not take it for granted. And I didn't want to watch the season and have, FOMO watching someone else do it. So it seemed like a cool opportunity. And now looking at it retrospectively, now that it's over, I am so glad I did it, because it was 10 times more fun than I thought it would be. I honestly did not anticipate having as much fun as I did. Truly.
And being that they only pitched it to you right before, were you not their first choice, or they only just pitched it to you right before?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they wanted to pick you, man. I don't know. Maybe you just weren't available.
Well, I imagine like Taylor, that since she's in California, she could get over there whenever she wants, but you're not in California. So
it's how great I am, man. It's just how great I am. They brought out the big guns. No, I don't know. I know that Taylor got asked like a day or two before me. So I would assume Taylor was a number 1 draft pick, right? So I would think that they had a list of maybe 4 or 5 people and they kind of went back and forth with it, but truly, I don't know. There's plenty of people who could have done it. Personally, I think there are people that I'll gladly say, like a Jeff Schroeder or something like that, who could have done my spot, and Xavier, who would have been great. Cody, these guys would have been great. So they really couldn't go wrong. And that just kind of goes to my point of them choosing to pick me when they have so many options. And to your point, flying me out there every other week, paying for travel, all these things, like, it's not cheap. So it's something where, knowing all of that, I came in there and gave it the best shot that I could. I researched, I watched the live feeds, I watched every episode, I did my research, I studied my scripts, and just like in anything I do, if I commit to it, I'm going to give you 110% of myself. May not be perfect, but you're going to get my best effort. And I hope they were happy with their decision. Only they know.
And what has your dynamic been like with Taylor? Because there's some fans who think that you guys don't have the chemistry and you guys don't like each other. I'm sure you see the comments. What are you and Taylor?
I honestly don't. I mean, Taylor's more in touch with the social media stuff than I am. The chemistry comment she brought up, and I mean, that's subjective. Anybody, I'm not going to push back and say, oh, no, you're wrong. We do have chemistry. I love Taylor. I think she's great. I thought we got along great, and I consider her a friend now. I watch the episodes back, and I'm super critical of myself, and I look at us and I think we've gotten better every single week as far as our chemistry and as far as our ability to feed off of each other. You have to remember, we got together a week before, had no previous relationship prior to that. And it's a lot of work what we're doing. We got the IFBs in, we're reading off teleprompters, we're reading off cue cards. We got a mystery guest that we don't know about until 2 days before. And we're trying to juggle all of that while also making it organic and having just this natural kind of conversation between each other when we know there's segments and points that we have to hit. I'm super biased, but I thought we did a pretty damn good job, and I loved working with Taylor. And I that's another benefit to doing the show. This is someone who I didn't have a previous relationship with. And that, like I said, now I consider a friend.
But like going back to her season, I'm sure you covered season 24 on the Winner's Circle. Were you a Taylor fan at the time?
I mean, Taylor and I have talked about this. She wasn't my pick to win. She definitely wasn't. And I thought that she gave one of the best final 2 speeches that we've ever had. And that's how she got the win. But yeah, we joke about it all the time. She busts my chops about me not facing any adversity. She did it right on lock. Yeah. So it's like, I think she knows where I stand. We don't pull any punches with each other. If you would have told me halfway through the season that Taylor Hale was going to win, I would have been like, you're crazy, but that's why I think a lot of people, she's the underdog story that I talk about with someone like a Donnie. I think a lot of people out there would have rather see Donnie win my season than me. And so that's kind of the box she checked. She had people rooting for her. And like I said, her final 2 speech was just incredible.
Who's been your favorite celebrity meet that they've had on Lock?
James Gunn. How's that for a response?
And what about Boston? Well, you already knew Boston Rob.
I played with Boston Rob on Traders. I don't consider him a celebrity. That's my boy. Although he is a legend, but he's I consider him a friend. Bobby Moynihan too. For years, I've known Bobby Moynihan. We've talked numerous times since I was on 16. Lance Bass, first time meeting him, but I've heard so many great things about him over the years, and he's such a Big Brother fan. And again, as a kid who was born in 1984, like doing the bye 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 dance with Lance Bass is pretty freaking cool. But yeah, James Gunn for me, just considering what I'm passionate about and what I like, he was great. But I would also say like Jerry O'Connell, not someone I had met personally, but phenomenal. Like such a funny guy, stuff that didn't even make the show, just super awesome. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm done with the show now. And it was just a really cool experience. Like, and the fact that I got paid for it, I mean, I'm stealing money here. I'm basically stealing money. It was incredible.
And some fans have said that they'd rather see past Big Brother players be there instead of the celebrity. What do you think of that?
I'm cool with it. You know, I would, for me personally, I would just like to know who it is because like I said, we're building chemistry, Taylor and I, and every personality is different. And so it's tough to build a dynamic that you can feed off of every week when you don't know what you're going to get. So imagine like a Sports Center or something like that, and them having a new host every week that doesn't come back again. Like they have a reoccurring roster. We're getting thrown in new personalities every week, and we have to learn about them and adapt to their cadence and whether they're really into it, how much they've been watching the season. Like that's a very difficult thing to do. So I'd be cool with a new host, like coming in every week. Who even knows if they're going to have me and Taylor do it again? Who even knows if the show's going to come back? I was going in there episode per episode. I've done enough shows to know that it's not always about, you know, what they're saying online or the ratings, even though just looking at it, our ratings have gone up every week. Our last episode was our highest rated episode of the season back on a Friday night, which is very difficult to do. But there's people that are higher up that are going to make decisions. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And so they'll decide what they're going to do. Maybe next year they bring back new house guests to be the main host and they bring back former house guests to be the third host. Who knows? Like you just never know. You never know what they're going to do. I think they're going to keep trying things and see what happens. And if this was my one time doing it, I won. I got these 5 episodes that I did that was super fun. Got to meet some really cool people and got to meet Taylor on a personal level and enjoyed her. And we had a lot of off camera stuff, me, her, and Chelsea. That was just like super fun, like so much fun. And I really enjoyed going to set early and sitting down with them and having like personal conversations. It was great. I'm actually bummed it's over.
And there's been rumors that Celebrity Big Brother is going to be back this winter up against the Olympics. Do you think that the celebrities they're having on is almost their way of promoting these people are going to be on the Celebrity Big Brother?
I don't. I haven't heard any rumblings. I would tell you guys, I haven't heard any rumblings of like a Celebrity Big Brother coming back. I mean, I would love for it to happen. I don't think it's like any indication because like Lance on our show, like, I don't know if it made the edit, but like Lance said he would definitely never do it. Like there's people that would never do it. So I don't think you're going to get James Gunn on a Celebrity Big Brother season. I just don't see it happen. The guy's too busy. Bobby Moynihan, I believe, was already asked and he said no. There's just people who are like, I'm not going to leave my family and I'm not going to expose myself to that. So I don't think any of these celebrities that came on this season is an indication that they're going to be on Celebrity Big Brother.
What about Rob? Would he do it?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Now,
if they back up the Brinks truck, I mean, they stuck the 3 of us in cages in the middle of the woods. So, I mean, if the money's right, I think Rob would do it. You know, he's a businessman, but I don't know. He loves his family. He's a great father. And I think he's someone who the idea of not being able to talk to his daughters for 20, 30 days when he's in a great situation life-wise, I don't know if he would do it. It would have to be a big check.
No, I want you to be honest with this, Derrick. I didn't think I didn't think Boston Rob's ever seen a second of Big Brother in his life. Did he ever watch the show?
He says he has. I mean, he brought up people that that like weren't part of the season. Like he was bringing up like Janelle and stuff. Now, Rob's a smart guy. And even if he had, like I told you, we only learn who is the host like a day or 2 before. And at that point, there was some points where it was still a mystery guest, even for us, the first couple episodes. So do I think Rob's sitting on his couch watching the live feeds? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But do I think he did his homework preparing for this week or whatever? Of course he did. He's a professional. But yeah, when I heard it was Boston Rob, I'm like, does he even watch Big Brother? And I would venture to say that, like I said, he's not tuning in every episode. But I think he can speak from the meta side of things, which was kind of fascinating.
Do you watch the episodes back on Friday, the edited product and TV, or do you live it so you don't need to watch it
No,
back?
I watch it. I watch it to be critical of myself, and it's pain every time I watch it because I hate everything about it. I can never give myself a compliment.
So why do you do it? You don't like seeing yourself on TV, or like?
I want to improve, right? Like there's things I think I've gotten better from episode 1, episode 5, right? Like, and because I see what I'm doing from the perspective of the viewer and I make adjustments. Like it could be minor things. Like I was very nervous the first episode. So not realizing that you could see our feet under the desk. I've been on multiple shows that you can never see your feet, but I was like, tapping my foot on the chair the whole time because it's like tall. So by that next episode, I was cognizant of that. You make that little adjustment. Another thing that I was doing is I was only turning towards Taylor and less towards the mystery guest. And I found myself having a conversation with Taylor and kind of leaving the mystery guest out. So I made an adjustment there. There was another thing where they put my microphone on my lapel. And when I would turn towards Taylor, it sounded great. But when I turned towards the guest, I kind of got thin. So I started wearing a V-neck. If you notice by episode 3, instead of a crew neck. So I could put the microphone on the V-neck and it would be centered and a little bit lower. So you'd get good sound no matter which way I turned. So little things like that, right? Like as far as my takes and stuff, we're there to give hot takes. We're there to be polarizing, not to be boring and not just to say what everybody else is saying. So a lot of the times my role was to be the dissenter. To whatever the two others said, I was going to take the other side, whether I agreed with it or not. And in between the cuts, I would say to them like, oh, I agree with you guys. But I was there to try to make sure we represented both sides because that's more interesting to have people razz on each other and debate it than just all of us agree every time. Like I just picked Morgan to win with Taylor. Honestly, if I had to do it over again, I probably would have picked someone else just to be different. Because who cares if I'm right or wrong? But like I would have picked someone else to kind of just give a different angle of like, oh, okay, you're going to say Morgan and James, you're going to say Vince. I'm going to say Ashley. Just to give something different, right? So you're constantly learning. And if you're not watching your work or reading your own work, how are you going to learn? Nobody's perfect. And the only way to improve is to go back and review the tapes like they do in sports and see where you can make those adjustments to give a better product. And I know not everyone's a fan of Unlocked, right? But I'm doing it for millions of people that are watching and they're tuning in. They're giving us an hour of their time. I want to try to give them my best at all times. And if I was just like doing it and then not living it again, can I honestly sit here and tell you that that's what I'm doing? No. So I don't ever want to phone anything in and I'll never be perfect, but I can promise it'll never be for a lack of effort.
And when you did the winner circle, I know you didn't really keep up with the live feeds too closely and people gave you slack for that. So how you consume the show changed now that you have to talk about it every other Friday?
Yeah, you got to watch the live feeds. You got to watch it. I'm not sitting there on them 24/7. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a busy person. I have multiple podcasts. I have a private investigative firm. I have a coffee company. And then I'm flying to LA every other week. Plus I have a family. And so a lot going on. But you got to tune into the feeds. You got to be checking Big Brother Daily on Twitter and you got to be up to date on that stuff so that when you're speaking, you can come from a place of authority that you know what's going on. Now, do I get everything right? Of course not. I'm not sitting there watching it like Taryn, but I'm watching as much as I can. And I think considering the position we're in and how we're covering the show, I like to think I checked the box. I never felt like watching the show like I was uninformed. I may not have opinions that are popular, but not uninformed. And so for me, I was good in that area. It was more so just presenting myself better to make sure that it was an enjoyable experience for the audience.
Who do you want to see win the season that could potentially compete against you in a future all winners Big Brother season?
I think Morgan, I'd like to see win this year. I think Morgan's the best player left in the house. I don't want to be that person because people say it about my season where it's like, oh, you didn't have great players on your season and therefore you're not a great player. You play the season you get, you're dealt and you hope for the best. I'm not necessarily looking forward to playing against Morgan or anybody else for that matter. But if you're looking at who's left in the game, I think Morgan, I hate to even use the phrase deserving, but I think Morgan has played the best game out of the remaining people.
And is there anything else that you want to say about this season before we get into you and your reality TV a little bit?
Oh, Jesus, we're gonna get into my life. No, again, I think this season was great. The ratings are up. It's up like 20 something percent. I think it was a great cast as far as what they offered. I think it was entertaining to watch every week. I truly didn't know what was going to happen. The blockbuster for me was a nice twist where I was going into that eviction night not knowing who was going to go home and how it was going to change the game. I would have liked to seen a little bit more diversity with the comp wins, the HOHs especially. But how do you predict that, right? Like, how do you do it? You know, it's unless you're like stacking the deck for certain people. How do you control who wins HOH? So that would be my one criticism. But overall, huge success for the season, just from a viewership perspective. I mean, people are talking about it. They're on social media talking about it. You had a little bit of everything: drama, controversy, showmances, arguments. I mean, what else? What else do you want? You know, I don't know. You know, nothing's perfect. I think it's pretty damn good.
How do you think it compares to last year? Because a lot of people are very happy with last year and said last year was one of the best seasons in years. So how do you think it compares?
I think it's on par. I really do. Honestly, are we talking about gameplay or entertainment value?
Just in general, your thoughts on the season.
I mean, Chelsea was incredible.
Yeah.
Do I think Chelsea and Morgan are the same? No, I think Chelsea's a better player for sure. And that's biased because I love Chelsea. She's a friend of mine now, but I think the gameplay was higher last year, honestly. But from an entertainment perspective, I would argue this season's more entertaining because it's more unpredictable, right? It really is.
Well, this season doesn't have Angela and Tucker there, so
that is true, but they went home pretty early. You know, I mean, considering what we're left with now, but I mean, even at this point, I just don't know what these people are doing, you know? So it's like, yeah, I mean, again, it's subjective, but maybe I was just more into the season because I was working. You know, that could have been it as well.
So how did you end up in all this 11 years? What is your casting story? How did you end up on the show?
So I was undercover for 6 years and I couldn't really go out much. And so I'd watch a lot of TV, a lot of movies, and I stumbled on Big Brother After Dark. And I was like, oh, what's this? And then at the end of the Big Brother After Dark, it said tune in for the episode Monday, Wednesday, whatever the days were. So I figured out that there was a show called Big Brother and I started watching it, got obsessed with it like everybody. I was on Joker's updates. I was on Hamster Watch. I shouted them out every single day that I was on the live feeds. And I was just completely obsessed with it because I felt like if I had the opportunity to go on, I would do fairly well because of my occupation. And so when I turned 30, I was out of undercover work. I got promoted to sergeant and it was my 30th birthday. I'm like, oh, bucket list. I'll apply one time, just a video. I did a 2-minute video when you're supposed to do a 3-minute video. I sent it in, essentially said, former undercover detective, master's degree in business. If you put me on the show, I'm going to win. And they called me and they're like, oh, you think it's that easy? You think you'll win? And I'm like, no, I said what I had to say to get you to call me. And that's exactly what I'm going to do on the show. And the rest is history. You know, it all kind of worked out from there.
So what had you seen of the show before you went on? Were you a big fan, a casual fan, a new fan?
I would argue that I was a casual fan because I thought I was a super fan going in there. But I think you're a super fan if you've been watching from season 1 or you go back and watch from season 1. And I didn't do that. Now, once I got on the show where I knew there was a high probability I was going to be on, I went back and watched seasons like 2, because of Dr. Will and what I heard about him. Although it didn't offer me a ton because the game has changed so much since then. So I would consider myself like more than a casual viewer, but not a super fan. They classified me as a super fan compared to the other players, but I think I was more of a recent live feeder than a super fan.
And what has your fandom been like since doing the show? But some people, they do the show and they kind of lose their love of the show. Have you gained more respect for the show? What's your thoughts on that?
Candidly, I watched the show when I was doing it for Winter Circle, but I wasn't as into it as I was before I was on the show. It does lose a little bit of its luster, a little bit of its magic because the curtain is pulled back and everything's revealed. And there's obviously positive and negative things with Big Brother. I'm not someone who's big on social media. The Twitterverse does not like me, mainly because I was boring and all that good stuff. So for me, I don't get that deep into the pool, but I watched it. I kept up with it mostly on Twitter. I wasn't watching it as much as I am until now, because again, you're being hired for a job. And anytime you hire me for a job, I'm going to give it 110%. But even with Winter Circle, and I've admitted this, like I was watching the episodes, but I wasn't necessarily tuning into all the live feeds. It's a big commitment. It's a really big commitment. And I wasn't doing that, but we were doing Winter Circle for essentially free. We were just doing it because it was an opportunity for Cody and I to talk. So when it came to my priorities for the day, watching the live feeds was at the bottom of it because it wasn't paying my bills, you know? So being on the show now, being on Unlocked, it's a priority. And I do think that my knowledge of the game is, although some people would still argue I'm not watching the feeds, I think my knowledge of what's going on in the house is a higher level than it was for Winner Circle.
And obviously you won the game, but do you have any regrets or anything you wish you would have done differently looking back?
The only thing I always say is just winning that last competition. You know, I lost it by a couple numbers, like 13 seconds, I think it was, or something like that. And I would have loved to win that last competition so that Cody wouldn't have that label of worst decision ever. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. If I would have taken him or he would have taken me, I was still winning, you know, but we were dead set on taking each other. And so I wish I would have won that last competition so he wouldn't have to deal with that burden. Although I don't feel bad for him anymore because he won the show. So everything's right with the world.
And that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask if you had thrown that final HOH, because I know you were close to Victoria, and maybe Victoria would have been upset with you if you cut her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, people love to just kind of cherry pick stuff. But if you remember in the final questions that we were asked, Victoria asked me if I would have taken her over him. And I told her straight to her face before voting that I wouldn't have taken her. So what do you think the probability is that if I had won that HOH, I wouldn't take Cody, or I would throw it? We had made a decision that no matter what, we were taking each other. One of us was going to win 50,000. One of us was going to win $500,000. We weren't going to risk taking Victoria and having a bitter jury vote for Victoria to win the show, one of us to win 50 and the other person to win anything. $50,000 was better than nothing to me. And so he was the person I had decided to work with. And no matter what, like, people think I knew I was going to win. I didn't. Now I know I would have won, but I didn't then. I truly didn't know what the jury was going to think of me. It can change every year. And so for me, I was like, hey, as long as I get 50 grand out of it and my buddy wins the $500,000, that's cool. So yeah, no, I wouldn't have taken Victoria. Cody was never going to take Victoria. I think the edit may have made it look that way, but if you watch the feeds, there was never a point where we weren't going to take each other.
Who do you think was ultimately your biggest threat to you winning the game? Was it Cody or Frankie or Caleb?
Probably Frankie, right? Probably Frankie. I think Cody is a good argument too. Frankie just played a better social game, had a lot more competition wins. I think Frankie would have been a little bit cooler under pressure when it came to the jury questions. I think Cody would be the first to tell you that he didn't answer those questions great. And he was kind of a little bit argumentative and defensive, which didn't help. But I would say Frankie. I would say Frankie, second Cody, you know. Well, obviously, if Donnie would have gotten there, you know, he would have beat anybody, but you have to get there, you know, and it would have been tough for him to do that. But like, realistically, I could have seen Frankie get into the final two.
Did the jury vote go how you expected? Did you think that Donnie and Jocasta would not vote for you?
I didn't think Donnie would vote for me. I thought Jocasta would. And you know, I talked to Jocasta afterwards. I think she would have voted for me as well if Donnie didn't tell her I fake prayed with her. In her defense, like, and I don't blame her. Donnie went in there and said, hey, he told me he fake prayed with you, which I never said that. But Donnie was trying to flip those votes, man. So I've talked to Donnie since then. He came to my book tour, and there's no hard feelings. I mean, I won the money, but I thought I was going to win at that point. After like our questions, I didn't know I was going to win beforehand, but after everyone got to ask their questions, I thought the only person that I wouldn't have would be Donnie, because I never thought Donnie would vote for me, but I thought everybody else would.
Do you think that the Hitmen are the best alliance ever?
I do. Yeah, I do.
What about the Cookout?
I think we're better than them. I mean, it's not even a fair comparison because it's two different types of things. Like a 2-man duo versus a 5 or 6 person alliance, two different things. It's apples to oranges. Was there a duo within the Cookout that it could be compared to?
I don't think so. I mean,
No.
I guess the final two was ultimately Xavier and Big D. So
that was kind of just by like the way it worked out, right? It wasn't like they had, like, me and Cody were a final two from day 2, and we were inside a bigger alliance, but it was always us. The Cookout was kind of more of a think tank. It was a group of them, and they had a mission and they accomplished it. But I think it's unfair to compare 2 people versus 5, because it's harder to control 5 people than it is. Was it 5 or 6? Six people. It's harder to control six people than it is five. And the fact that they all got there together is super impressive. But when you think about our resumes in totality for Big Brother, what we've done and how we did it, and our overall average finishes, even though Cody's picking up the most of that, it's pretty good. I mean, when you look at it just on paper.
How do you rank yourself compared to the other winners of the show?
I've been asked this before, and there's no right or wrong answer. I think I played well. Obviously, I think I played well, and I think
that's an understatement.
I think most people would agree with that. I think it's so subjective, and I've talked about this with a couple other people as well. I just did the Reality Kingdom, and we talked about it. And I think I played a very good game, but it depends on what you value. Taking me out of it, I've said it before. I think Cody's probably played the best overall. He has the best overall resume, the 2 seasons, finishing 1 and 2. How many competition wins he has, his social game, the amount of times he's been nominated. It's pretty crazy. It really is, especially when he should be a huge threat. But there's a lot of other players that would be in there. And I think everybody wins. And I've said this before, it's the season that you're dealt, right? Like the person who's built for that season is going to win. Somebody like a Cody or a Derrick or even a Chelsea or a Taylor may not win on if they're on a different season. It just so happens that the chemistry, the makeup that season played into their attributes, their skill sets, and also there's luck, right? You have to have the ball literally fall your way sometimes. So overall, there's a lot of great players. Some people value entertainment more. Some people value gameplay more. Some people value competition wins. Depending on what you hold important is going to be your top 5, your top 3. But, I'm very proud of my game, and I would put it up against anybody season to season.
Going into your season, was there anyone you wanted to play like or model your game after? Do you think your game?
You're going to be surprised by this. This is a funny story, and I don't even know if I've said this before. You know what shirt I had taken from me before I went into the Big Brother house? I don't think you seem like you know a lot about the show, so if I had said this before an interview, you would know. Do you know the answer to this question?
Say it again. What shirt?
I had a shirt that had a house guest name on it before I went into the house. Have you ever heard this before? This might be an exclusive.
If you say the name, maybe I'll
okay.
know it. But
so I had a shirt that said, it was green, neon green, that said, Frank Udy is my homeboy.
I think I might have heard this, yeah.
Yeah, and his was Julie Chen's my homegirl, if you remember. So yeah. I liked the way he played the first time, not the second time. I like it the way he played the first time, and I thought, he was good at comps and had a pretty good social game. Obviously, it didn't work out for him. He's going up against one of the greats and Dan Giesling. But I liked Frank Udy's game. I liked Dan Giesling's game. I don't know who else. Like I said, I wanted to go in there and play a game like an undercover detective, and it was nobody who had done that so far. So I understood the dynamics of Big Brother, the general context of what it took to win, but I really wanted to treat it like an undercover operation, and nobody had done that yet, which I felt gave me the advantage. So to go in there and play like Dan, somebody might recognize my game and say, oh, I've seen that before. But the way I did it, nobody had recognized that game because it had never been done up until that point. And now you have people looking for it every year, which is funny because, I mean, it's a different game. It's my training that I had since I was 20 years old, but you see people trying to replicate it and people get mad at me for that. I don't know, man. But overall, I'd like to think that my game kind of was, a melting pot of a few different games and not necessarily intentionally.
And in your season, there were 2 HOHs, 4 nominations for most of the season. So you survived so many nominations. How were you able to do it?
Building relationships, man. I always went in there and wanted to build relationships that were based on common interests, not gameplay. I always felt like it would be harder to nominate a friend than an ally. And so every single person in there, I tried to figure out their why and find a way to relate to them so that if push came to shove and I needed them for a vote or just needed them for a decision that we were making collectively, I had them. And that was from Cody all the way down to Joey before she left. And then in between with like a Victoria, where nobody was really building a personal relationship with her. And I saw that and I decided to capitalize on it. Christine, Victoria, Frankie, I had friendships with all of them, even Donnie, although it was kind of like this weird dynamic, but I had a relationship with all of them, and that was by design.
I don't remember the exact number, but do you remember how many nominations it was that you
I think
survived for?
I think I said in my final speech it was 55.
55 nominations. That's crazy.
I mean, now you're I consider you an expert of this, right? You've been doing it a long time and you're on it every week. Again, you said that's crazy. Now some would say it's just because he faced no adversity. Now if someone else did it that people liked, they would say, oh my God, that's super impressive. So again, it's all subjective.
Well, you faced no adversity because you were just that good at your social game, I guess. I mean, that's a credit to you. I mean,
thank you. I would, but on the other hand, if I'm playing devil's advocate, people would say, oh, that's because he played against a bunch of idiots. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how you want to view it.
But also your cast has become one of the most successful casts. Nicole won Big Brother. She won Reindeer Games. Amber did the challenge. Cody won Big Brother. So it's a very successful reality TV cast.
You sound like a pretty smart guy. I'm just going to say it. I don't know. I mean, these are things that I've definitely said, but let's really talk about it for a second. Does it matter? Does it really matter? And I'm not trying to like downplay it. Like I won this show and it's an incredible show. It's super fun to watch. And I won 11 years ago. Nobody cares. It's a show. I had a great season. Everybody who won after me had their dream fulfilled. Why can't we just embrace everybody? Why can't it just be like, hey, every season is its own thing? Because it's not like football or baseball or basketball where you can compare 2 seasons. None of them are the same. And so for me, I try to look at them and compartmentalize each season for what they are and give everyone their credit. If you won for a reason. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to take it away from the winner of the season that they might not have had a good cast. Like Boston Rob in Survivor, he dominated the season. He won. Yeah. People say, oh, it was the worst cast ever. Boston Rob didn't choose the cast. I mean, he was played with what he was given. He dominated.
And the best players see what they're given and they adapt. Like you're dealt a hand. You may not always have the best hand, but you find a way to make it work. That's what the good players do. And Morgan started off pretty rough. She started off good, I should say. The middle was rough, but she's kind of found her way. And I feel like we could almost go back to when Zach left, when it started to change for her. She became more focused on winning than a relationship with Zach. That's my opinion. You may disagree, others may disagree, but I felt like Zach going was a great thing for her.
Do you think anyone since you played has tried to model your game?
That's a question for you, because according to my Twitter, every year someone tries to model me and it's my fault if the season sucks. Right?
Well, do you think anyone has played a Derrick game? I mean, your game is very good. Is it repeatable? Can someone play a Derrick game?
I don't think it's a Derrick game. I think being under the radar, having good relationships with everyone, having everyone feel like your ally. I'm not the one who created that. It's like, it's been done before me. I just get the most credit for it because I think my season was boring in the sense of it was predictable because I had my finger on everything. That was by design. I think Chelsea's up there, right? Chelsea had played a very similar game to me. I think she was only on the block once, maybe one time. Yeah. Who else we got? Refresh my memory. Who have we had since me that, in your opinion, has played a similar game?
I mean, like we said earlier, that you're one of the best winners ever. So, I mean, I don't think anybody can play a game like you, that you're just the best of the best, and it's going to be hard to top you. I
did not pay him to say this, guys. I feel it almost seems like there's a little bit of, I apologize. I haven't watched your YouTube videos before. So if I go back and I see that you just roast me every fucking episode and that this is satire, I mean, are you Rob has a podcasting me right now where you're like, you're just the best ever, Derrick. And on every one of your ratings, I'm like the bottom fucking guy.
I'm a fan of yours. We've been trying to do this.
We've been trying to connect for years, but you might be like, Derrick fucking sucks. I don't know. Thank you for saying that. There's been a couple people who have played very good games. I think the closest, if we're just going to give a name, Chelsea. I think she played incredible. Just really what she did was really masterful.
Did you think coming into the show that you could win the game?
I did. Yeah. I left my 18-month-old daughter for it. And I knew if I didn't go there and come in first place, it wasn't worth it. I was going to miss a lot. And I was going to miss her saying, I love you in person for the first time. You know, that's something I'll never get back. But because of what I was able to accomplish, I've changed their lives. So now I can look back and retrospectively and say it was worth it. If I hadn't won, I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you having that conversation, because anything but first would have been a loss. 50 grand would have been great, but it would have maybe gave us a buffer for a year. But Josh, honestly, I can't tell you, no bullshit, how much winning Big Brother changed my life. When we could talk about it for an hour. I've talked about it with my mother and my family, and it's unbelievable, because I was on the trajectory where I was the youngest police officer in my department. More than likely at this point, I would have been chief of my department. That was on the road I was on. Everyone knew I was being the fastest promoted through the system. So I probably would have been chief. Not a bad gig, very respectful job. I would have served my community, and I would have been getting ready to retire actually at this point, because I would have had my 20 years. But from a financial standpoint, from a fulfillment perspective, as far as like what I'm capable of, I would have never known this, but I would have been really underselling myself. Instead, I own multiple businesses. I'm very well off financially. My kids are in the best schools now. They have the most opportunities. I get to work around amazing people every day. And I'm constantly looking at my board, which you can't see, thinking about things that I want to accomplish that I never even knew were possible. And they weren't possible until I won Big Brother. Coming home and having an agent call me and say, hey, what about true crime? And me saying, what's true crime? And where that has led me, both on a personal journey and just to have that financial stability. None of that would have been possible unless I said, hey, I'm going to go on this show called Big Brother. So although I'd like to think that the work that I've put in professionally has contributed to where I am now, if it wasn't for that one decision to go on the show, I can pinpoint it to that one decision. The two different paths, I never would have had that other option. That fork in the road never would have been there. So when I say I owe everything to Big Brother, that is not just something I'm trying to sensationalize by making it like a thing that's clickbaity. That's the God's honest truth, man. It really is.
And that leads me to my next question. I asked Andy this question yesterday. I spoke to him, and his answer was a no. If you hadn't won the show, do you think you'd still be as connected to the Big Brother community that you are today?
I think as a competitor, I would be tough. I think as a competitor, knowing to go back, like I said about Unlocked, and looking at where I made the mistake that cost me the game, it would have been too hard to keep reliving that every year and to think about the coulda, shoulda, woulda. So I agree with them. I don't think I would have been as connected to the show. I got my fairy tale story. I got to go on my show. I got to be with an amazing cast. They made me a highlight of the show. They kind of, my storyline, my arc was like this undercover cop and changing my appearance, and then seeing my daughter tell me she loved me, the holodericks, and then, getting to the end and winning and the confetti and being there with my best friend, a friend that I call a brother now. Like my kids call him Uncle Cody. Like I met this guy because of this show, and now I consider him family, as well as some other people on the show. It's like a fairy tale story for me. I'm not trying to fucking blow smoke up your ass. Like people probably get fucking nauseous hearing me say that, but I wouldn't change a thing. I know we talked earlier about winning that last comp, but that's so trivial. I mean, like I said, I don't even feel bad anymore because the kid won, but I had the perfect season, in my opinion, for me.
Also, the one person's probably gotten more out of Big Brother than you. I would say it's Rachel, that she's gotten her husband, she's gotten her kids from the show. She's probably the one person that's got the most from Big Brother.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. She met her husband. She's got two beautiful children, and she's won some money, so she's made the most of it. And I would even go further than that and say Rachel has a passion for reality TV that I don't have. Like she loves being on these shows. She loves doing them. I don't necessarily love doing these shows. I like the game aspect of them, but yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I was fortunate enough to already have my family before I went on the show. And so this was more of a financial play for me, and also just a professional journey and where it's led me. And it led me to areas like, you could go on reality TV, and a lot of people have said, I hope I go on the show and it leads to more reality shows. Not a novel concept, right? But how many people have done what I've done? I kind of refer to it as like the DJ Pauly D effect. where DJ Pauly D went on Jersey Shore, but he was able to focus on what his passion was, which was DJing. So even though Jersey Shore is no more a thing, he's still a very successful DJ and has created a whole career because of Jersey Shore. I didn't plan on doing that. I think DJ Pauly D did. But just by going the route of playing the undercover cop game, it created and I hate this word, but a brand for me that I was able to monetize and capitalize on after the season was over, even though I left the house not knowing that I did that. It was just completely by mistake. I can't take credit for it. The only reason I went on the show was to win. All this other shit was just pure fucking luck.
And do you think it's any harder to win in a modern day season with all the chaotic twists like Rachel's elimination? Do you think it's harder to win the game now than it was when you played?
Well, yeah, twists like Rachel's is unfair to her. I mean, you can't have it. Like, it's got to be a nomination at worst, right? So take that out of it, because that's kind of the first time we've seen something like that, right? We keep talking about Rachel being eliminated from the game. That's not a phrase you associate with Big Brother. So I hope that goes away. Do I think it's harder? If nobody knew who I was, I don't think it's harder. I think you have to consider other variables, like who's there for social media, who's there for America's favorite player, but that has always kind of been a thing. Social media more so now. So you have to learn who the people are who are going to make decisions based on what they think the audience wants to see. But even on my season, I was thinking that. I knew there were players that were doing that. So just everyone, everything being in a vacuum, I don't think the show's harder to win. It's about luck. It's about timing. It's about your cast. But I think the show is pretty much the same. Taking out the one hamster wheel of death, because I don't think that should be a consistent thing every year where we have someone day 70 or whatever her day was going in there, going home. I don't mind that happening on like the first week or the first night. We've seen that many times and nobody cries over it, right? It's just unfortunate. I don't even love that, to be honest, but that's more fair than having someone build up an entire game and then pulling the rug from under them in a matter of seconds.
And Donnie, he was America's favorite player in your
Yeah.
season. Did you know in the house that he was going to be beloved by the public?
Oh my God, yeah. 100%. There was a competition we had where it was the black box, and I was outside because I was the HOH with Frankie, and they were inside the black box and we couldn't see what was going on. But while they were in there, we heard this thunderous roar come from behind the wall. It was the crew watching the cameras, obviously. And I remember going like, what the? And I knew immediately that they were cheering because Donnie had just won. And sure enough, he came out and he won. So I knew, watching him, I was in my brain rooting for him because I knew the narrative. Like, it's him against the world, But even in hindsight, I think Donnie would even say this, like, his social game was not good. He could have played a different game. He went to bed early. He stuck to a certain people. He didn't really open up to others. And frankly, there were points where I tried to work with him, but like, he would lie to me constantly. I would talk to him and I would lie to him too. So I'm not saying it was one-sided, but like, we would talk about something and I would give him a piece of information specifically for him to see if he would leak it. And within an hour, somebody was telling it to me. So it was like, hey, dude, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And so at some point you just got to go, hey, dude, if I wasn't here, I'd be rooting for you, but clearly you're trying to slit my throat. So you got to go. And that's just game recognizing game.
So much has come out of this Big Brother experience for you, but what has been your favorite part of all of it?
Oh my God.
Was it just winning the show?
I think it's so hard to identify one thing. For me, it's not just one thing. It's my life. As I'm sitting here with you right now, I'm in my studio with 4 different sets. I got my coffee company across the hallway. I have everything I could want in life. I'm still involved with Big Brother. I'm doing something that, how many house guests have there been? Hundreds, 200, 300, 400 people. I just got selected to do this first one of the kind show. It's just like, I'm fucking lucky. Honestly, I don't know how else to say it. It's not by design. The true crime stuff, writing the book and all the shows I have now I've found my footing. Now I know what I'm doing. Now I know the secret sauce, and I know my passion. I want to help people. I want to use my platforms to try to solve these cases because there's so many unsolved cases out there. And I'm in a position where I can help both from a professional standpoint and from a monetary standpoint. where I can provide the funding needed to help solve these cases. That is something that's going to outlive me well after I'm gone. That's what I want my legacy to be. If nobody knows who I am as a Big Brother player, that's cool. That was my launching point. That was my foundation. But now I'm able to get to do what I started doing at 20 years old, which is being that little kid who called the police when I was young because I needed their help, and now being that person that can be the help for someone else. I'm winning, dude. I'm winning.
And I respect that you credit Big Brother for everything you have now, because there's a lot of people who get famous after the show and they're like, "Oh, Big Brother, I don't want to touch that."
Who's famous? Who's famous now?
Well, not famous,
You know what I mean?
Some people want to like disconnect from the show after they did it, but you are what you have because of Big Brother. That was the first thing you did. So
no doubt about it. 100%. I think we are someone who we all have to acknowledge that we had to start somewhere, and for most of it's Big Brother. Now, I will say some people disconnect because they didn't have that fairy tale ending, and it's too hard for them, and I can't fault them for that. But yeah, you do have some people, I'm sure, who won the show or who did very well and are like, "Oh, I'm too good for it," or whatever. But that's any show, right? I mean, people need to be knocked down a couple pegs and realize that none of us are fucking special. When it comes to the spectrum of celebrities, we're not even on the list, man. You know?
So who do you keep in touch with from your season?
99% of them, honestly. And it's a spectrum, right? Like there's certain people that I talk to more often than others. There's not a single person that I don't get along with, right? Like even like me and Nicole had our little bumps in the road during All Stars. I just texted her, congratulated her about her kids, her baby on the way, and we had a brief conversation. And I am happy to sit here and tell you that I'm good with everybody, because as I get older, you realize even when you have certain bumps in the road with people, it's not worth it. Life is too short. And if I didn't learn anything from being a police officer other than that, it was that life is not promised, and tomorrow is not necessarily going to be given to everybody. And so I have made it a point at 41 years old to be good with everybody. Now, I still have my flaws. I still have my issues, and I still get in my ruts and have my points of like low points where I'm depressed or anxious or whatever. And I got to get through those ruts just like everybody else. I definitely have bad days all the time, but I try to remind myself that some of the bad days I have, like for example, I'm going to be candid with you for a second. Okay. Had a long day. I've been going since 7:00 this morning. You hit me up and you said, "Hey, can we hop on? But I have a lot of questions." And I was like, oh, I can do 9:30 and I don't have a hard out. Now, at first I was like, man, sucks. I got to stay at the studio and do that. I want to go home. It's 10:45 PM now, but there's a different perspective way of looking at that. I'm fortunate enough that there's someone out there with a big following who wants to talk to me, who wants to hear what I have to say. That's a good thing. I should be blessed that I'm in that position where you've been trying to get in contact with me for years and make this happen. And for some fucking reason, you want to have a conversation with me. So instead of looking at it from a negative perspective of like, oh, this is something you have to do, look at it from the angle that you should be looking at it from, which is you're lucky enough that you got to play your favorite game and do well to the point where someone who has a following wants to sit down and have a conversation with you about it. That's not a burden. That's a privilege. So even in that moment, that's how I changed my mindset. And I was excited about getting on here with you and talking to you. And now we've been talking for over an hour, and I'm not rushing you off. I don't give a shit, because I realize this is a privilege, not a guarantee. And I try to do that in all aspects of my life, although it doesn't always work out that way. But even with social media, right? Like I did this Unlocked show. Josh, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm not a moron. I know not everybody likes the show. I know not everybody likes me, but I'm privileged enough to be in a position where I get these opportunities to have people like me and dislike me. I have that opportunity where I get to go on there and people are still talking about me 11 years later. Not everyone gets that after going on Big Brother. So do I look at it from a negative perspective, or do I spin it and see it for the positive that it is that, hey, 11 years later, you're still making waves. And that's how I choose to view things. Not always the case, but I try to do it all the time in all aspects of my life.
And maybe people are jealous that you're in the position that you are, that could be unlocked. I mean, I've had people on my podcast that have said, "Oh, why is Derrick on that? I'm not going to watch because of Derrick."
Yeah.
But they want to be in your shoes, maybe. So it's you should be lucky that you're in the position you're in.
I don't even want to know who these people are. What I would say, just from a general sense, is, and maybe you're talking about house guests or people, I don't even know, but my overall takeaway is, first and foremost, if you have a microphone, you should be allowed to voice your opinion, right? Not everyone likes me. Not everyone likes Taylor, right? Like, we're not going to be everyone's, cup of tea. But I think in general, as a rule of thumb, especially when it comes to like social media, when you have like these accounts that are like fake profiles and stuff, my general takeaway is that hurt people, right? A lot of people live online and they're in an unfortunate situation where when they say whatever they say online, it may give them a sense of gratification for that moment, but then they have to put their phone down. And when they do, they're left with whatever they're dealing with. Could be some medical issues, could be personal issues, could be their job, could just be a relationship, whatever it might be, but they're going through something that's giving them gratification by putting down others. So I feel bad for them in that sense, because I wish that wasn't the case for them. I'm fortunate enough where I have a great life. And there are moments where I'll pick up my phone and I'll see some things being written about me or my appearance or my kids or my job or whatever, right? And it hurts me, just like any human would be hurt. But I'm lucky enough that I can turn off my phone and put it down. And then I have this amazing life that I go home to, that friends and family and all these things that I've gotten to experience. And that's the way I choose to look at things. So when someone says, oh, why is Derrick on there? There are better people. They're not wrong, right? That's their opinion and they're entitled to it. And there might be someone that they enjoy more than me who would be better at the show. But unfortunately, they chose me. And all I can say is to that person or those people, whoever it is, I can't promise I'm going to win you over, but I can promise you, like I said earlier, I'm going to give you the best I got. And if that's not enough, I'm sorry, but I'm always going to give you, even for the people who don't want to see me, I'm going to try to give you what you want. And I may not always reach that. I may come up short, but I'm trying. And I think that's something I hope that even the people who don't like me as a host can get behind and say, you know what? At least he's not phoning it in. He's giving a full effort.
And going back to your cast, we've seen a lot of your cast have success in reality TV. You did The Traitors, and Nicole's done Big Brother multiple times. Cody's done Big Brother.
Yeah, Cody's done Traitors.
Yeah, but who from your cast that we haven't seen back on reality TV do you want to see back on our screens?
A couple people, man, for sure. Love to give Donnie another shot. Love to see Frankie on Traitors. Love to see him on Traitors. Would love to see Zach on another season of Big Brother. Get Devin on there again. Give him another shot. Why not, right? Caleb has been on multiple seasons of Survivor, but I think he's good TV as well. We had a really good cast. I thought we had a lot of really good characters. So yeah, that's a few that I can think of for sure.
And if you weren't on Big Brother, is there another reality show at the time that you would have wanted to have been on, or was just Big Brother for you?
Just Big Brother, my man. That's all I watched. Now I watch Naked and Afraid, but I'm never doing that because I don't have the ass for it. You don't want to see my ass on TV, Josh. You'll never look at me the same, man. I have that white boy ass. I got no ass, man. It would not be good.
And I'm curious that after being out of reality TV for 10 years, what was it about The Traitors that made you want to go back? Because I thought you didn't want to go back to Big Brother because you didn't want to tarnish your reputation, your legacy. So what was it about Traitors that you wanted to?
And it's so crazy. Let's unpack that. You can't just say that comment and not unpack it, right? And you can be honest. Do I come off? Oh, well, maybe I do, and I won't be offended by this. Do I come off as the guy who values Big Brother over everything else I've accomplished, right? In my personal life, professional life, where I would be hesitant to go back on the show solely because it may tarnish my legacy as a Big Brother player. I won't be offended. Answer it honestly.
Well, I thought part of it was like going back on season 22. If you went back on that and you were the first boot, people are going to try to minimize your season 16 game. Oh, it was a bad cast. He comes back in All-Star season. He's the first boot. Is he really any good? So I thought that was part of it, that your hesitancy to go back.
That's a fair assessment. I've said it a million times why I didn't go on Big Brother All-Stars. But in case someone's hearing this for the first time, it's not as complicated as it sounds. I had said yes. I was preparing for it. I knew Cody was going to be there. I knew Nicole was going to be there. Now, there were some bumps in the road where some people were out there talking about who was on the show, who wasn't. There was no pre-gaming for me, none of that bullshit. But when I was getting ready to go, Well, I guess it was pre-gaming. I was talking to Cody and Nicole. By definition, that's pre-gaming, right? But I was sitting on my couch. Tenley kept coming downstairs. And this was rare for her to come down after she was already in bed. And she was just like, are you still up? It was weird. You know your kids. I don't know if you have kids or not, but you know your kids. And you seem a little young to have kids. Do you have any children? Okay.
I'm 23, so no.
Okay. Well, my mom had me when she was 18 and my brother when she was 19, different times, right? It is what it is. Don't anybody judge my mother either, because I will fight you. But she kept coming downstairs and she kept wanting to like lay on me instead of going to bed. And I'm like, Tenley, what's the matter? And she like sat up, looked at the carpet and was like, if I say something, I don't want you to be upset with me. I said, what? And she said, I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to go on the show. I'm going to try not to get emotional right now, but I said to her, look at me. I would never be upset with you for that. If you don't want me to go, I won't go. And she was like, but isn't this something you want to do with Uncle Cody? And I said, yes, it is. But you mean more to me. And if you don't want me to leave you, I can't go on that show knowing that you need me. If you want me to stay, you tell me and I will stay. She looked at the carpet again and said, I need you to stay. I literally called Robin Cass that morning and said, I ain't coming. And she said, well, we got to have a meeting. We got to get people on the phone. And I said, Robin, I love you. I'm not coming. I cannot get in that truck or that car knowing that my daughter is inside and she asked me not to go. Can't do it. End of story. Immediately called Cody. He was a little upset, like disappointed, but he understood. He got it. I didn't even call Nicole and tell her. I just told him. That is the true story. Why I didn't go on All Stars. As far as why I haven't gone on a season since, well, one, they haven't asked me to do a lot of seasons. Everyone thinks they're asking me to come every year. But I'll be honest with you, and you may not like this answer, and so may not a lot of other people. I do very well for myself. If I go on the show, there are bills that I have. There's a certain amount of money that comes in and comes out every month amongst all my businesses. I have multiple employees. They rely on me. A lot of the things that I do are me on camera, right? If I'm not here, those bills still have to be paid. Their salaries still have to be paid. I'm responsible for a lot of friends and family that work for me. I have to go on the show, whatever show it is, and it has to be financially worth it, where me leaving and losing X amount of dollars is going to be offset by what I'm going to bring home. If it doesn't check that box, it doesn't work. But that's not even the primary box. The primary box is my family. And with Traders, I got to talk to my kids, to FaceTime them, right? It was a very short period of time and the money was worth it. And I know the rumors have been out there. You probably already know where we're at. I know the articles came out, and I'll just say to you and your audience, it was worth it to me. And I had said no to Traders 1 and 2. So keep that in mind. And also Traders just seemed like a really fun game. It was something I liked and I enjoyed after watching Cody, but there's a couple things that have to be checked. My family has to be okay with it. My businesses have to still work while I'm not around, and financially it has to make sense. And then after all that, is it something that I personally want to do because I think it would be fun? If it's yes to all those things, then I would do it. So when it comes to Big Brother, and I've said this to Allison and Rich, so I'm not like giving you anything secretive. I'm not leaving for 45 days. I'm not doing it. And your audience may get mad at that, but like, I value my time here with the people that I care about and what I'm doing. I'm not willing to put that on hold for 45 days. For some people, they can do that and it's not going to affect them. I can't. If they want to assume that it's because I'm concerned about my legacy, I'm not going to change their minds. You know that. But I would put this out, I would put this out there. If I was so concerned about my legacy, I wouldn't have went on Traders. Now you could argue it's a different game, so it doesn't matter. But even once I was there, I'm calculated enough that I wouldn't have made that big TV moment with Rob if I just wanted to get further. I was there to play the game knowing that I wasn't going to win it. But I don't give a shit, because I'm hoping when this is all said and done, 10, 20 years from now, I have done more things that are going to outweigh what I've done on any reality TV show. If I haven't, then honestly, I failed. But I'm hoping that the families I've helped, we just announced a case that I'm funding. We just announced another case that we solved that was from 1992, sitting down with those families, sitting down with her daughter of the victim, and having her tell me that she thought her mother left her and just never came back, and now knowing that her mother was actually murdered and that she didn't leave her behind, and the impact that has had on her as an adult now, that's what drives me. That's what I want people to remember me for. I love Big Brother. I always will. It's something I did, but I'm hoping in the end it doesn't define me, if that makes sense.
And I'm sure traders that you had talked to Cody before you went on the show, I feel like that Cody had said he didn't really have the best time doing it, though. Did that give you any hesitation? Did he say that?
He didn't have the best time doing it because he didn't want to be a trader, but I also talked to Dan, and Dan enjoyed it. You know, Dan enjoyed it and said it was an opportunity you shouldn't pass up on. A little side note, I actually talked to Pete Weber too, Pilot Pete. And they all said they had a great experience. And I was a little apprehensive about doing it because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I had an amazing time. It was so much fun. And I didn't win. And I wasn't even in the end. And I don't give a shit. I felt like I had more positive feedback after that season than Big Brother. I felt like people appreciated the fact that I went for it. And if I go back on the show again, I want to be a faithful, and I'm going for it again. And I'm not going to win, but it's going to be a fun ride to watch me try to figure out who they are.
And that was going to be my next question, that there's been rumors that next year could be a Traders All-Stars. You would return for that if they call?
Yep. Sign me up. And I felt like I could have gone after the Traders, but in a different way. I needed to build up more troops.
Yeah. And what about any other shows? I have to imagine the last 11 years, it's been more than just Big Brother and the Traders that's called you. It's been other shows knocking on your door?
Yeah, Amazing Race called me multiple times. They called me this year for the Big Brother this year, and it was more of an availability call, and I was already under contract with Traders, so I couldn't do it regardless. But at this point, I'm good with the reality shows other than like Traders. I would do a shortened season of Big Brother if they said it was like a winter season. I don't want to like lock myself into anything because I know this will be clipped and used against me, but man, max days, 30 days. What's Celebrity Big Brother usually?
I think it's like 28, 4 weeks.
I mean, that I could potentially do, but again, it's like there's so many variables that like we could talk off camera, like that I have to consider that are like would be affected by this. I would have to record. I record 2 episodes a week. You know how hard it is, right? And I'm doing like real cases, actual victims. I have to be litigious. I have to research them. I have to put my best foot forward because the families of these victims are going to be watching these cases. So I would have to record basically 16 episodes in a matter of like a couple weeks. It'd be very difficult. But anyways, that's a different story for a different day. I would consider that, but then it also comes back to my family being okay with it, where they are they in school, what's going on there, having that conversation. And then also, again, people don't want to hear it, but it's got to make financial sense. It's got to make financial sense. If I'm going to go out there, put myself out there, leave my family and probably not win, let's be honest, I wouldn't put money on me ever winning a reality show again. It's got to be worth it financially, right? So
what if CBS called you right now and said, Derrick, we're going to do an all-winter season, 30 days next February. Are you doing it?
How much they paying me to go in? It's an honest question.
The amount you're asking for, the amount that you'd want.
They're asking me if they're paying me good money. Yes, I would say yes. If T&P, Tenley and Peyton are okay with it. Yes.
But I feel like I've also heard that you said you want to play, with the big dogs. So if like Dan and Will aren't there, then you might not be as interested.
If they're not there, I wouldn't be as interested. No. The same thing happened on All Stars, although I agreed to do it, even though I had a feeling they weren't going based on what I was hearing. Because think about this. If I go in there and I'm the only returning winner, well, even if there's other winners there, regardless of what you think about me, what are the chances that I'm making it to jury?
I mean, I think if you look at season 22, the 2 winners there, Ian and Nicole. Nicole got to the end, and Ian made it to the jury. I mean, I think you're a bigger threat than both of them, but there's still some wiggle room. This
isn't to be anything against them because I like Ian and Nicole. I'm going to be viewed as a much bigger threat.
Yeah,
simple as that. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I've never been nominated. Somebody's put my head on their mantle, and I don't blame them. I think the first time I don't win an HOH, I go home. Simple as that. You're going to put me on the block. You're going to say, oh, I'm the first one to nominate you. And then they're going to be the first people to vote me out. I know that going there, but I would still go because let's say I go in there and I'm the first one voted out and I'm back home within 7 days. If the dollar amount was met, did I lose? Exactly. So when I
Well,
left
I just think that
Traders, I didn't win, but did I?
money was there.
And that's not a bad thing for us to talk about that. I mean, these are honest conversations. Not everyone will like that I'm saying that, but I think most people would respect it. Right? So.
But I think like if the Dan and the Will were there, I think that's where you might have some wiggle room because people might look at them as a bigger threat than you.
I agree, which is why I'd be more incentivized to go, right? Doesn't it make more sense that if I'm going to go and I'm going to play my second time, that I want people there that are considered on the same level of me? It doesn't mean they are or that I am on their level, but at least the optical illusion is there where they might be a bigger threat that I can at least present that argument. Boston Rob, Wes, Jeremy, Tony, right? I wasn't the number one threat to anybody on Traders because there were big, massive players there and it allowed me to play the game. If I were the only one there, I would have been the first one gone. So, I think that's not unreasonable for me to say, like, I want to be there with people who are perceived as these big threats. Although the ones you really got to worry about are the ones that nobody's looking at. The ones that think, oh, they won, but they got lucky. That's the one who's going to win again.
But going back to the legacy talk, I think maybe it was Dan who said that was part of it, that he didn't want to ruin his big brother reputation, that he got first the second time, he got second the second time, that he would be an early target if he came back. I think he wouldn't want to ruin his reputation.
I don't want to speak for Dan, but I consider him a friend as much as I can consider him a friend without ever meeting him in person. We have had a lot of personal and professional conversations, and I value him and I value his opinion on things. I think Dan at the end of the day is in the same camp as me, where he loves what Big Brother did for him and his family, but he is a business person. And if the numbers were right, he'd be back on your screen if it made sense for him and his family. And I don't think he would care about going out first. If they called and the dollar amount was right, I think Dan Giesing would be back. But Dan Giesing does very well for himself. He's got his gaming channel. He's got other things he's involved in, which I won't put out there because I don't think he's ever said what he does for business personally, but he's doing well for himself. He's got a great life. And so the juice might not be worth the squeeze for him. But if it is, I think he'd be there. I do.
And going back into the money aspect of it, did you do anything special with the $500K that you won? You also won the $50K for Team America, right? So did you do anything special with the money?
I bought Jana a car to say thank you for taking care of the baby while I was gone. And people don't believe this, but I put the money, I obviously had to pay taxes on it, but then I immediately went back to work and I put it into IRAs and mutual funds. I have that money and then some still. I didn't buy a house. I didn't buy anything expensive. I bought the car and a hot tub for $7,000. That was it, because I thought that's all I was going to have. So I didn't want to spend it. I wanted to use it to give us a buffer moving forward because we were living paycheck to paycheck. So I kept it, put it into mutual funds, and I got lucky where this was 2016. Anybody out there who's been in the stock market, you can do the math, leave that money in there, over $300,000 in an IRA and a mutual fund for that period of time, with the market going well, especially if you invested in the right mutual funds, it does very well. And so I'm in a position where, to answer your question, I have that money still.
And that's good that you still have it, because I know, I don't know if you saw that Jackson Mickey came out recently on Julie Chen's podcast.
I saw that.
Said that he's already out of all his money, and that was only 6 years ago. So.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, and it can go fast, man. And I grew up with nothing, broke, poor. I've told this story a million times. I mean, I remember being in my bed and hearing the mice under my bed running around. That's the position we were in. My mom was a single mother, 4 children. We had fucking nothing. And I constantly live in fear of like this imposter syndrome of waking up and not having any of this and being in a position that my mother was in when she was young. And so I'm petrified of that every day. And I think that's what drives me to work so hard, not only for that, but also for my kids, to make sure they're never in that position. And so, yeah, it can go quick. And that's why I don't rely on it. And I'm constantly working every single day to get better and to improve my situation, and never relying on what I have, because I know the minute you get complacent, you could lose it all. And so I just get up and grind every day. Like, I mean, it's 11 o'clock right now here, and I'm going to work after this. I'm at the studio right now. I got to be up in the morning back here. So it's something that I don't take for granted. I know it can be gone tomorrow. I think Jackson's story was a great story for people to listen to, because it can happen to anyone, not just former reality players. And so, yeah, I constantly have that in the back of my mind every day, just that fear of it all going away, and making sure that I have a plan A, B, C, D, and E just in case.
And I believe before Xavier, you were probably the winningest money-wise house ever because you won 550K. But are you mad that you didn't get 750K? That
course.
wasn't that prize when you won?
Of course. Of course I'm hating. I feel worse for Cody, because Cody was the last season at 500,000. That's a real kick in the nuts.
And that was All-Stars. Like,
and it was All-Stars. I mean, what the I mean, he got screwed, you know? And so, yeah, it sucks knowing that everyone else got an extra $250,000, you know? But it goes back to what we were talking about probably 45 minutes ago. Glass half full. I'd rather look at it and say, hey, you know what? Yes, I got $500,000, but some people got a couple grand. Be happy what you got. You have an amazing life. Those things, you know, be happy for the people who got it. Work harder to make that money up.
Yeah, and just a couple more questions. We're about to wrap. But what
Yeah.
have you learned about yourself through doing reality TV? Did it impact your view of yourself in any way?
I think it does. I think if you sit back and you really watch the show and you use it as an opportunity to learn and grow, you'll see things you like about yourself and you'll see things you don't. And for me, I was playing a character in there the whole time, so it's kind of hard to see between those lines. But I try to be as authentic as I can be in my personal life, and I try to be honest with people. As I was saying to you, if I don't like you, I'm not going to be rude about it, but I'm not fake about it either. I'm not someone who is super involved in the Big Brother community. It's not because I don't like them. It's just because it's tough. It's tough to navigate those relationships online. It's not because I think I'm better than anybody. It's just a matter of, like, I have real people here that I'm associating with every day, and that's a whole different dynamic. So I want to try to be as authentic and truthful with those people, and it's hard to do the online alumni relationships, and that probably has hurt me to some way. And I will say, looking not necessarily at my gameplay when I was on these shows, but more so Unlocked, being back out there in the Big Brother community, meeting people like Taylor in person, and seeing Chelsea in person, and being back involved with the community as a whole, it has made me fall in love with it to a certain degree again, and has kind of incentivized me to be more out there, like, you know, to go to the different events for the finale night and things like that I wouldn't necessarily go to, because, you know, this is a fraternity of people. We all got to experience something, and we may not all get along, but overall we're all kind of connected in this weird sort of way.
And I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this podcast that are going to be on the show in the future. So what advice do you have for someone who will be listening to this about going on the show in the future?
I know it's so cliche, but be yourself. You're not guaranteed to win, and you could be setting yourself up for failure by going in there and being someone you're not, because you're assuming that that's what people want to see. Imagine going in there and falling flat on your face because you were trying to be someone that's not actually who you are. Go in there, be yourself, play as hard as you can, don't have any regrets, and know that no matter what happens, if you went in there and you kept to the one rule of, hey, no matter what, every day I'm going to wake up and give it everything I have, from the competitions to the social play to building relationships. If you do that, win or lose, you'll be able to look back and you won't have any regrets.
But didn't you just say a second ago that you were kind of like playing a character in the house, though?
Playing a character is different than playing to the audience. There are people that go in there and do things or make decisions because they feel like that's what the audience wants. I was playing a character for the other competitors. And when I say playing a character, you watch my season, it was more about me being a Parks and Recreation coordinator and what I did in my personal time and what was my, what my hobbies were. But I told them everyone about Jana and about my kid and about, all those things. It was mostly just my occupation. So yes, playing a character for the sake of gameplay. I'm talking more about people playing for America's favorite player, playing to be America's favorite on Twitter. We see it. I don't like it. And it usually doesn't work out for that person. In fact, and this is no shade, I would argue that Ava was trying to do that.
She said it herself that she has. So,
and how's that working out for her?
I mean, she was pretty well liked for the first half, but I think since Rachel was evicted, she said some not nice things about Rachel that people just went very downhill on her.
Right. So going in there, trying to do things because you think America's going to like it, not winning the show and finding out that people actually didn't like it. That sucks. I can live with going in there and being myself and coming out and people not liking me, because I'd rather you hate me for who I am than love me for someone I'm not. But that's what I'm talking about. Going in there with the intention on winning the game, not winning over America.
And do you have any upcoming projects or events you'd be excited to share with your fans? Anything you want to plug? Your podcast,
nothing you guys will be interested in probably, but things that I'm passionate about is victim advocacy, promoting these cases that don't get the coverage they deserve, raising as much funds as I can to provide DNA testing for these cases that are just one step away from being solved, connecting with these families and allowing them to use our platform to share their stories, so that even if we can't solve it through DNA testing, we can solve it through word of mouth and getting their stories out there and getting new leads and holding law enforcement accountable so that they don't just put their cases on a shelf somewhere and let them collect dust. That's what drives me every day. That's my passion. Even on traders, like talking about that, making it part of who I am. That's what's important to me, not necessarily important to the Big Brother community. Although I would like to think that whether you like me or hate me, you can get behind that. And if we did, oh my God, if the Big Brother community got behind that with the amount of the extent that people will go for these Big Brother games and these players, imagine if they put that towards solving cold cases. Telling you, could make a difference, man. Could make a difference, because there's a pocket of people in that Big Brother community, when they want something to get out there or get something across, they do. And so, I hope that me being on Unlocked, even if you don't necessarily love me as a player, maybe you look into some of the things I'm doing, and even if not for me, but for the victims and their families, you're like, you know what? I can get behind that. Let me put a little bit of my effort, a little bit of my oomph behind it and see if we can help. I'll take it. I'll take all the help I can get.
And what about your book? Because you sent me a signed copy of your book 5 years ago. You still
yeah, I still have it. I mean, I got a couple. I mean, yeah, I still have it. The Undercover Edge, it's one of those things where we had it on, it was a bestseller on Amazon. We sold hundreds of thousands of copies. It did really well. Still selling. We actually sold out of it at CrimeCon, but I'm glad you reminded me, because somebody just asked me for a copy. I got to send it to them. But yes, I have the book. I just did my first season of America's Most Wanted Missing Persons. I'm hoping that comes back. I have 2 podcasts, Crime Weekly, Detective Perspective, both every single week. We just won Content Creator of the Year for the Clue Awards, which was a dream of mine. I've been nominated every year. There's tens of thousands of people who vote for that award. Got presented it by Ice-T and John Quinones. If you guys know those names, it was pretty cool. So life is great, man. Coffee company's doing well. Just solved another case, Criminal Coffee. If you like coffee, check it out. We got Pumpkin Spice coming out in a couple of weeks. I don't know, man. I don't know what else I got. I have another show that I'm building that's going to come out in January. It's going to be called, I don't even want to say the name, but it's a pretty cool name. And yeah, just living life. I'm happy. I'm healthy. Just got done the first season of Unlocked. It was a lot of fun. And now I'm sitting here with you talking, and we've been doing this for over 2 hours.
And what about the winner circle, Derek? Do you think maybe?
Damn, I'm not doing enough for you, Josh.
But like, if you don't do Unlock next year, people want to see the winner circle come back. If you'll have more time next year,
so here's the problem with it. We don't get paid to do winner circle. So it would go back to the bottom of my priority list. Cody's having a baby now. I got 2 kids. I got multiple businesses. It's hard to do it every week. And the one thing I learned after doing winner circle was, if you're going to do it, you got to be all in. You guys, as the viewers, as the spectators, don't want the half-ass effort. You want me watching the live feeds. You want me doing all this. If I can't do that, then I shouldn't be doing winner circle, based on the feedback that I've gotten from the fans. So to answer your question directly, if that's what's required of me, but it's not something that's supporting me and my family, I have to put it at the bottom of the list. And if I'm not able to devote the time needed to do what you guys want, then I shouldn't do it at all.
But you guys weren't like, you guys weren't monetized on YouTube. Didn't you guys have like sponsors?
We're monetized, but you know how it is. It's not breaking the bank, brother. You know what I mean? We were also doing the editing ourselves. Like it's time consuming. You know it better than me. It is time consuming. It takes a lot of effort. I have editors for my shows now. I couldn't do it all. And so when I'm doing these shows that take priority and it's 11 o'clock at night, and I got to come on here and record twice a week over a Big Brother show that I just watched the episode 20 minutes prior and I haven't been on the feeds. And then I got people in the comments saying I'm a fucking idiot because I didn't watch the feeds that night. Does that sound like something I want to do?
Nah.
We're just being real here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
If I could come on and shoot the shit every once in a while with someone like you, great. But like, if you guys expect what you expect and there's nothing wrong with that, well, then you've already spoke. I got to listen to the audience. You don't want the casual, I watch the episodes, now I'm going to weigh in on it. You have people like Taryn and others who do a great job and they give you the full perspective. I don't think you need me and Cody.
Well, Derrick, that was everything that I had for you. This was
really, that was fast, man.
That was everything I had for you. So it was a dream of mine to talk to you, and you gave me so much of your time. So I thank you for coming on. We've been trying to do this for years. So thank you so much, Derrick.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me. I hope you guys enjoyed Unlocked, whoever watched it, and we'll see who wins, and we'll see what happens next year.
All right. Thank you so much, Derrick.
No problem.
Well, that not only wraps up this interview, but this season of Big Brother Spoilers podcast. We want to thank everyone who's tuned in, watched, listened, and supported us all season long. From myself, who handles the thumbnails and the intros, to Brandon, who did the intros before me, to Aiden, who does the editing, and of course, our leader, Josh. We all truly appreciate each and every one of you. It's been an incredible ride, and we're eagerly looking towards Big Brother 28. Trust us, we have an amazing list of people, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you again for being a part of this journey with us, and we'll see you next season.